We have given a great deal of time and conversation for the past several years about the school enrollment, and we do examine it. And I'd like to preface this report with, there are fewer children in Massachusetts, and I'll go into that toward the end of it. But I have a summary for you of school attending children in Hull. Judy, is it this clicker, this arrow here?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So what I want to point out to you, that since 2006, we have 360 fewer school-aged children residing in Hull. The number of children living in Hull has declined from 1,441 to 1,081 school-aged children in Hull. The decrease in this number of students who attend the Hull Public Schools during this period was 252 students. And I will put this all up on the web tomorrow. Since there was a decrease in the number of school-eligible children, it stands to reason that a comparable decrease in the students attending the Hull Public Schools should be expected. After a low of 82.3% of the children residing in Hull attending the Hull Public Schools in 2006, there's been an upward trend of the available students, and it sounds funny to call them available students, but for lack of another term, that's what I will call students who live in Hull. So the available students that did attend the Hull Public Schools back in 2006 was 82.3%, and now it's 87.2%. The gain is most noticeable at the Jacobs School. Although there's been a decline in the actual number of students attending the Jacobs School, the percentage of school attending children has increased from a low of 83% back in 2006 to 91% now. So 91% of elementary school age children who live in Hull attend the Jacobs School. The percentage of students attending the Memorial School has changed over the same period of time from 82% to 87%. So more families, a greater percentage of families are choosing the Hull Public Schools. At Hull High School, the percentage of students attending has remained fairly stable during this entire period of time. We started at 80% and we're at 81% now. We did have a high of 86% one year. Overall, the number of students attending vocational technical programs has declined, and in that I also include Norfolk County Agricultural. Right now we have 4 students attending these schools, 1% of our population. At the charter school, the decline has gone from 98 students attending the charter school to 26 students over this period of time. It was 6.8% of the school-age population attending the charter school, and now it's 2.4% of the population attending the charter school. This next slide just breaks out the charter school by the 3 grade levels, K to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. And as I mentioned, when you compare the 2000 U.S. Census versus the 2010 U.S. Census, there are fewer children in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts who are under the age of 18. Likewise, during that similar period in Hull, there are fewer children residing here. So the fact that our enrollment has gone down is not because of the quality of schools. In fact, the converse is true. The percentage of children attending has increased, and we can draw our own conclusions, but it's logical to conclude that families are satisfied with more families are satisfied with the education in the Hull Public Schools. So I point this out because we talk about enrollment from time to time, and available space and so on and so forth. So I put this together with the help of Diane Sanick to really give the committee an instrument just to get your heads around and to refer to from time to time. If any committee members have any questions, yes?
Were you gonna start with the Sims report and the,
No, I was finished, but I can go
Oh,
back to
okay.
that. On the Sims report, we have 1,009 students registered, and we have a total of, I don't think I have slides on this, no, I
I
don't.
think they were in the beginning.
They're not on the, up
Oh.
there, okay. And we have, a total of 106 students attending private schools.
Yeah, when we put this up, I'm sure we can put up, we had the Sims report, which has the breakdown of the number of kids by grade,
Yes,
at each school, the out-of-district, and then the.
I can put that up too,
As
sure.
well as the half-day kindergarten, and then we also had the school enrollment by school.
For not, how many students
so-
at Norfolk County Aggie?
Yeah, so we even have the itemization of the 106 students that go to private schools, exactly which private schools they go to and what grades they're in. There's quite a number. There's one,
Yeah.
two, three.
I'll put, you want that up on the web too? Is that
Please, there's
useful?
like 20
I'd be
different
happy to.
private schools that kids
Yeah.
go to, parochial
So-
and otherwise.
So
And
this
then
will tell us how
actually-
many, I'm sorry.
This kind of leads me to my question. On the out-of-district public schools,
Mm-hmm.
according to this, we have 2 Hull students who go to Cohasset Public Schools, and we have 8 Hull students, or Hull children, who go to Hingham Public Schools.
They're the children of employees of, in the Cohasset Public Schools, and the children of employees in the Hingham Public Schools. So a Hingham Public School teacher may send his or her children to the Hingham Public Schools.
Okay.
That's in the collective bargaining agreements. We did have, years ago, we had 2 children, I think it was two, that attended the Needham Public Schools, and that was a similar situation, but they've since graduated.
Does our town contribute any funds towards the education of these 10 kids to either Hingham or Cohasset?
No, but those children factored into their town's Chapter 70 money.
Right.
So they're counted as enrolled in Hingham and Hull, Hingham and Cohasset, and so when,
They get money from the
it's on the
state.
cherry sheet.
Right. They get money from the state, but there's
But we
not.
do not, no, there's no money that changes hands here.
Okay.
And if you go down this list, the Carroll School, you might consider that a special education school, but that is a family who has chosen to send the child to the Carroll School, and it's not under special ed.
Okay.
So,
One other just comment, Kathleen.
yes,
I noticed on the other list here, this parochial school list here, just, this is more just commentary. Looks like we have quite a few kids who are in 8th grade now that are going to private schools. Looks like the Catholic schools opened up to 7th and 8th graders, so we're,
they opened up their 7th and 8th grade. Notre Dame Academy did it, BC High did it,
yeah.
and
Archie's did too.
Archbishop
Yeah.
Williams has done it.
Because it looks like there's
So
11
you'll see
kids
that we have 8th graders,
Yep.
Archbishop Williams, Boston College High School,
Yep.
Catholic Memorial, they've always had a 7th and 8th. I don't believe Xaverian has opened to 7th and 8th, but I'm not aware.
I'm not sure.
We only have one
I
student
know,
there
I only know about this because I think actually Xaverian did open up to 8th grade.
A 7th and 8th, they did.
Because we had quite a few in our district that left the middle school. Like our enrollment numbers were pretty steady, but all of a sudden this year, we noticed a little blip, and it was attributed to kids going to the middle school at Xaverian or Archie's or wherever they're gonna go.
We have, 3 8th graders at Boston College High School,
No, 6. Oh, 8th, yep,
Eighth.
sorry, 3.
and 0 7th graders.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you happen to know how many of the charter school 12, it said there was 12 kids, I think, in 9 through 12. How many are actually in grade 12 that might be graduating? If you could just let me know,
We can do that, sure.
please. And secondly, I just wanted
I want to write down, did you write that down?
to.
Okay.
Yes.
It's on here. It looks like 4.
Oh,
South
right,
Shore
okay.
Charter School, absolutely,
Okay,
thanks, Eric.
perfect,
Good.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was looking at the other slide. All right,
4.
good, so there's 4 that will be graduating. That's good. And second, I'd like to put in my plug for doing a Realtor open house in the spring to try to get the realtors.
We'd be happy to.
I didn't even have to finish my sentence, to try to get the realtors to understand all the good that's going on in town. And I would hope that we were continuing our sort of pirate for a day and reaching out to these students that are going to other schools to see if we can get them back based on some of the results and try to entice them, because I believe the Hull Public Schools are a great choice. If you want your child to go to any particular college, I think you can get them in there. And I think it's great to shop and live local.
Absolutely. We have those results every year.
We do.
There's in the kindergarten range, I know that the Montessori school in Hull has kindergarten age children too, and they're not listed here.
Well, they did not report then, so we'll have to
Okay.
seek them
So-
out, and thank you for that.
Yeah, so I know
we'll
that.
check.
So I believe they do have some kindergartners. And is it only kindergartners who, or students in general, who've been in the school and left, or is it based on
They're
census
all-
data?
All
or-
these schools are supposed to report to us. Some schools just do it automatically, and others we have to hunt down. So I'm surprised if the Montessori school in town has children that we do not have them here. So that's good to know, and we'll find out. On kindergarten, they really don't need to report it to us, though, because kindergarten is optional in Massachusetts for families. People will say it's mandated. It's mandated that the city or town provide kindergarten, but attendance is not mandatory. Children in Massachusetts do not have to attend school until they're 6 years old. So that may be why they haven't reported, but they're very cooperative, and I'm sure they'd give us the information.
Yes, Ms. Owens?
So, does the 1,009 registered include preschoolers?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. And are any of those preschoolers, didn't you open them to staff? Did you open the preschool?
We did not, we could not make the daycare self-funding. We were short one child, actually 1.5 children, to make the tuition. To make the tuition, we would have charged families for the daycare, to make that program self-fund. So we did not, we were close, so we did not open the daycare, and part of that daycare would have been some of those children in the daycare attending the preschool program. So that did not happen,
So that did not.
regrettably.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much for that report.
Excuse me. So I'm wondering, and I'm sure other people are wondering too, as there's always that question, and it was brought up earlier when Stephanie was speaking. I'm starting to get tired. Stephanie was speaking, and we were saying the school consolidation study and that wanting to be a part of that. And as the numbers start to decrease, Stephanie, you mentioned that it was going forward. Is the, I don't know, no one's here anymore, the selectmen. Is it going forward with, like, combined with the facility study or
I can tell you,
sort of study?
my understanding at the moment, the selectman and town manager put out an RFP for a building study. It's sort of the first phase of this, project as they foresee it. I believe they've gotten responses. You might know, Mr. Gillis. Did they get one or I think they got 2 responses to that?
The town got 2 responses to its RFP.
And I don't
yes.
know if they've selected one to move forward with at this point.
I don't think that's been finalized, but it might have been. I was on the review committee, but I'm not sure if the town manager has finalized it yet or not.
Right, and so my understanding is after that has been completed, there's potentiality for another sort of interim, study about personnel issues, and then, as has been described to me, it's sort of as sort of a third phase, sort of looking at, the impacts and potentiality of consolidating school buildings. As part of that, after you kind of have this understanding of what the buildings are, kind of have an understanding of, in terms of personnel, what space is needed for, town hall and things, for, those functions, then they want to continue to look at this issue. And as Ms. Peters said, we've never been against doing the study. We clearly, I think from presentations that have been made by administrators and comments made by school committee members, I speak for myself, I'm not particularly excited about this idea. I personally don't think that if you look at all of the information, it's going to make sense. But you had voters, you had town meetings, you had many forums where people clearly want to move forward with some sort of study, and I think we're going to be moving forward with it. It's,
Jennifer Fleming.
yeah, it's sort of slow in the making for sure, but I think that's what's coming, yes. Ms. Fleming?
Yeah, I just have a question, for you, Kelly, actually. Where the charge of the school committee is the best interest of the students, I'm wondering why you would be a proponent of consolidating the schools.
Well, I think, and I can speak to that, I think there's a lot of things, for me, I don't know if I'm a proponent, I think I'm like Eric, I wanna find out more information, but I've spoken about it before, and, the Association of Superintendents of Schools spoke about the kind of concept of the middle school and how, right now, a lot of public school districts in the country are moving away from the isolated middle school to a K through 8 model. And also, you can consolidate some resources and have a behaviorist, have different types of positions that we don't have available right now if we were to consolidate a little bit. Am I for or against it? We have no information. Am I for having a behaviorist? Am I for having someone who can come in and talk about the function and so forth of our kids and help us kind of navigate that piece? I'm all for more services for our kids. As you saw in the presentation about Park, we have a large population of students who need services, and we need to be able to meet those needs, and our budget is, our budget is what our budget is right now, but we also think, can we do more? I think we can do more.
I'm just wondering, how can we do more if you did a full investigation, if we need to pay back the state for money we got for the facilities, where the middle schools demonstrated improvement on the NCAS due to all the technological innovations they had there. I don't see how you could see it as being anything but a step back and a cost savings mechanism to say consolidation has any purpose.
I don't
You
really
just
wanna
save
get-
money.
Yeah, I don't
Go too
think,
far down this road.
I just think information, and they could come back and say, no, that's a bad idea, but right now, we don't really have information on that. I do know that we don't have certain things that might be more possible for our students. Do I know? I don't know. I mean, if the answer was so easy, we would have decided, and there wouldn't be all this debate about it. There needs to be some sort of information gathering about that.
I don't know that it's the role of the school committee to be the ones constantly reminding, we need to do a study, we need to do a study. It seems like that should be maybe the parameters of other individuals in town, not the committee you're on.
I think we're clearly not the ones driving this discussion, but we're, as we've said many times, willing to participate in what actually, for a while there, we were begging to participate in the discussion because other people were sort of making the decisions without us.
I think what we talked about was having more input on who is actually going to do the study. It's not just an architectural exercise, because certainly 1,003 students, or 935, or whatever the number is, that can certainly probably fit, you could probably do that with 2 buildings. But from a curriculum standpoint and a programmatical standpoint, we needed to have somebody that was an educational specialist kind of participate. And that's where the rub came. That's where, then it just kind of fell apart, just kind of went away. So I'm not quite sure. I know they're doing this facility study thing now, so, maybe down the road they're gonna do this study. And I think we've always talked about participating, as long as we can kind of set the parameters as far as we want to be at the table and pick who that consultant's going to be to look at the educational piece.
And I think that's the important part. I think
That's
that's
the most
the
important
piece
part.
that we need to focus on. And they're talking about the MODAR, and they're talking about just the building itself. I'm talking about the services we provide in those buildings. Like I said before, there is a space of a library in the middle school, but it is not a functioning library. There is no checking books out. There is no going there and finding the book for you. There is no library that is functioning in that space. If we consolidated, would there be able to be money and opportunity to have a librarian in that space? What does a librarian offer? What does that give? Would there be able to be more technology because you're not dealing with more infrastructure, you're consolidating that piece? Because the routers and the servers and the access points, I mean, it's just a question of what can we give our kids, and not just looking at it like, well, the town wants this building. Well, who cares what they want? We need to figure out what we can do to offer all the services our kids deserve. And maybe that doesn't look like the way any of us think it looks like. Maybe it looks completely different. but it's just information at some point we're going to have to gather.